All right, today we're jumping into a fantastic poem by Carol Ann Duffy, Mrs. Midas. You know the classic myth of King Midas, right? The guy with the golden touch? Well, Duffy completely flips it on its head. She asks, what about his wife? So let's unpack this from her side of the story.
So Duffy's big move here is to ground this epic myth in our world. She's basically asking, hey, what if this huge famous story didn't happen in some fancy palace ages ago? Imagine it unfolding in your own kitchen. You know, the curse doesn't show up in a throne room. It shows up while you're trying to eat dinner. And that one simple change, it makes everything so much more relatable, so much more personal. It's brilliant.
And that's really the heart of the whole poem, this huge contrast. The original myth, that's all about a king's greed, a big moral lesson about power. But Duffy, she zooms right in on the human cost. It's not a tale of power anymore. It's this deeply personal, absolutely heartbreaking story of loss. It's about a marriage just falling apart, all because of one single, unbelievably selfish choice.
So, where does it all begin? Well, the poem drops us right into a super normal, quiet evening. It's late September. Picture this. Mrs. Midas is just hanging out in her kitchen, totally clueless about the storm that's about to hit her life.
And the way Duffy describes the kitchen is just incredible. She makes it feel alive, It has a smell of itself, steamy breath. It's this warm, cozy, nurturing space. This is Mrs. Midas's domain, her world. And it's a world built on touch and care, which, trust me, is a detail that's going to become tragically important in just a minute.
Right away, we get this stark difference between them. So you've got her inside, pouring wine, cooking, nurturing. And where's he? He's outside, in the dark. And the very first thing he does is snapping a twig. It's such a small thing, right? But that tiny, sharp, violent sound, it's the perfect preview for the absolute devastation his wish is about to unleash on their marriage.
So we go from that little snap of a twig, and suddenly things start getting really weird really fast. That calm, ordinary evening, it's about to be shattered by something totally and completely unnatural. And here it is. This is the big reveal. The way she describes the golden pair is just perfect. It sat in his palm like a light bulb. I mean, think about that. It captures the shape, that weird glowing brightness, the sheer suddenness of it all. And then you get that punchy, one-word sentence right at the end, on. Boom. It's like a switch just flipped in her mind. The horror is starting to creep in.
But, her brain doesn't immediately go to magic curse. Her first thought is actually pretty normal, almost funny. Is he putting fairy lights in the tree? This question is so telling. It shows you just how confused she is. She's trying to make sense of this crazy sight, to fit it into her ordinary life. It just goes to show how completely unprepared she is for what's really happening. Okay, so then he comes inside, and he's turning everything to gold, and Mrs. Midas's mind jumps to this old historical event, the Field of the Cloth of Gold. Now, this was a real thing, a super fancy meeting between kings who put on this huge, gaudy display of wealth to basically cover up the fact that their countries were broke. It's such a brilliant metaphor for their marriage, isn't it? It looks all shiny and rich on the outside, but underneath, it's completely emotionally bankrupt.
And then you get this line, which I just love. It's this incredible, escalating list. She's watching him pick up a simple wine glass, and it just transforms before her eyes. The sounds of the words here are amazing. That hard G sound in glass, goblet, golden. It almost sounds like someone gulping in shock, right? It's not just the glass. It becomes a goblet, then a golden chalice. You can feel the transformation speeding up, and the horror is just building and building with every single word.
All right, so this is the point where any kind of wow, cool feeling just evaporates. The novelty is gone. Now the true, absolutely terrifying reality of his wish starts to sink in. This isn't a gift. It's a curse. And it's a curse that's about to rob them of the most basic fundamental parts of being human.
So what's the first dose of reality? Food. He can't eat. Something so simple, so pleasurable, is suddenly a total nightmare. And the image she uses is just brutal. He's spitting out these corn kernels that look like the teeth of the rich. It's so grotesque. A perfect symbol of wealth that's completely useless because you can't eat it, it can't keep you alive.
Look, not being able to eat is bad. It's a huge problem. But the real horror, the true tragedy of this whole thing, it's the loss of touch, the loss of human connection. This is the moment the poem pivots from a kind of dark, weird comedy into a genuine tragedy.
I mean, listen to this line. It's just chilling. I feared his honeyed embrace. A honeyed embrace is supposed to be sweet, loving, but for her, it's deadly. That word, honeyed, is so clever. It sounds sweet, but it also makes you think of the color gold. A kiss, which should be the most intimate act, would literally turn her into a cold, dead statue. A work of art. She'd be beautiful, sure, but she'd be dead.
So what can she do? She has to take these practical but utterly heartbreaking steps just to stay alive. And with that, their intimacy is just gone. We're talking separate beds, a chair jammed up against the door. His room, the spare room, becomes the tomb of Tutankhamun. It's filled with all this golden stuff, but really it's just a tomb for their physical relationship. It's dead.
And this right here is just pure genius from Duffy. She takes that old cliche, a heart of gold, which we use to describe someone kind, and she twists it into a literal physical threat. He literally has a heart of gold, a touch of gold, and it could kill her. It's such a brilliant, dark flip of the phrase, and it perfectly sums up the impossible nightmare she's living in.
So, at this point, you just know there's no turning back. The damage is done. This curse hasn't just ruined their life right now, it's completely wiped out any chance of a future together. Separation isn't just an idea anymore, it's the only option left on the table.
And that realization leads into what might be the most painful, gut-wrenching part of the entire poem, her dream about the child that they can never, ever have.
So in her dream, she has this baby made of perfect ore. It's beautiful, the precious little thing, but it's not alive. It's a statue, and its eyes, its pupils are like flies. What a horrifying image. Flies are a symbol of death and decay, so even her most fundamental dream, the dream of being a mother, has been poisoned by his gift. It's a love that physically hurts her, milk that burned her. His selfishness didn't just break their marriage, it killed their future. After a dream like that, well, the decision is made. And the poem delivers it with this short, blunt, brutal sentence. So he had to move out. It's so effective because there's no emotion left. No more arguments. It's just a fact. A cold, hard reality. Their life together? It's over. That one little word, so, tells you everything you need to know. This was the only possible logical outcome.
And what about him? What happens to Mr. Midas? He winds up alone in a caravan in the woods, just this pathetic, thin, delirious guy. The irony is just staggering, isn't it? The man who wanted all the riches in the world ends his life in total emotional poverty. And that line about hearing the music of Pan was the lonely god of the wild, it just drives home how completely cut off he is from all of humanity. So the poem wraps up with Mrs. Midas all by herself, just looking back on everything that's gone. And her final thoughts are this really powerful mix of pure anger and this deep, deep sadness that just won't go away. And here it is, her final judgment. Just 2 words, but they cut right to the bone. Pure selfishness. That's it. He never thought about her. Not once. He didn't think about their relationship, their future, nothing. It was all about him, an act of pure selfishness. And now she's the one left picking up the pieces. But even after all that anger, what's left underneath is just loss. The last line of the poem is absolutely devastating. The way she repeats hands and touch, it brings everything back to the core tragedy. What she really valued, what she misses more than anything, it wasn't gold or fancy things. It was simple. It was the feeling of his warm hands on her skin, his touch, that basic human connection that his cold, greedy wish destroyed for good. And really, that's the question Duffy leaves us chewing on. By showing us this story through Mrs. Midas's eyes, she reveals a powerful truth. A wish for infinite riches can lead to infinite loss. It forces you to stop and ask yourself, what is the real price of getting everything you think you want? When you're so focused on chasing gold, what are the truly precious human things that you might be leaving behind?